I'm Ashton from the Crypto Coin Show, and today on Blockchain Interviews with Mihal, CEO of American Fortress, here with us to talk sending transactions easier, protecting yourself, security for your address, phishing, and so much more. Mihal, thanks for taking the time to come on the show.
Yeah, no worries at all.
I'm excited to dive into Matterfy, the wallets, and American Fortress, and why it's making it so much easier and safer to send crypto, especially for new people getting into the industry. Could you kick us off with just a high level on your experience in crypto and why that led to you starting American Fortress?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been a hacker since I was 15, and I worked for the U.S. Navy. I built Intel software for them around the 2000 era, and then the first three companies I worked for were all bought. And after that, I was like, man, maybe I should stop working for other people and just start doing my own thing. So I started a bunch of different businesses, and then I sort of returned to crypto or got into crypto in 2018 because I realized that it solved some huge problems in software security that let us, make things extra secure, right? So, my sort of passion is to save everybody from the hackers. Like this is my main jam in life. As a white hat hacker before, I did, a bunch of audits of all sorts of interesting things, from airline systems to voting machines to I was the first guy in America to audit an electronic voting machine as an outside auditor for ES&S voting for Franklin County, Ohio in 2005. So like, I've done a lot of really interesting security audits, and I realized that like everything is broken. And then what I realized is like, okay, decentralized stuff gives us a serious opportunity to make everything not broken. At the same time, it's hard to use. And also it's made, exploits even bigger, right? So it's like from a theoretical point of view, it's better than, what we've been doing in TradFi. Like if you're connected to a bank system, there's very little crypto there. Like your balance is essentially just a database entry and somebody can just change it and, you lost or gained money or whatever, right? I mean, so there's been all sorts of, TradFi theft and fraud, everything from 2008 crisis. In crypto, I saw the opportunity to, fix that, fix those vulnerabilities at the same time, ran face first into like, oh my God, like the hackers are now having even more of a field day because of the problems in the space. And that's what I wanted to create at Matterfy. And now American Fortress is our retail wallet. That and Matterfy white labels the tech to various organizations, Brinks, MetaMask. But we wanted to release a product like and kick off our token launch with a product for the people that solves these sort of huge problems in the space, and makes crypto really easy to use and theft really difficult to perpetrate.
Yeah, it's very exciting because we know blockchain is secure, and yeah, you can't just go in and change add some gains or take away some losses like you can in these centralized databases in banks. But with that complexity, it's really not user friendly. As we've seen new people try to get in, it's just making mistakes. And sure, it may be more secure in some ways, but there's also a lot of other things that can go wrong. Can you talk about those sort of issues, especially for
Yeah,
new people
absolutely.
getting into crypto right now?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest problem is just understanding addresses and the consequences of like how addresses interact with DeFi and how your MetaMask, like for example, or Web3 wallets interact with DeFi and just chains in general, right? So because the phishing is by far the craziest thing. It's like there's an entire industry. Like I get probably 10 phishing attempts a day. Obviously, I'm a target, but I get, constant phishing. But everybody gets, like my mom gets phished, right? And she's 80. Like, like the hackers
Yeah.
have just full on like, okay, well, we know out there that there's people with crypto, and the crypto is sitting in like their exchange accounts or is sitting inside their non-custodial wallets, sitting inside their MetaMask, So we're going to try to get at it, right? And they've created this entire essentially industry where you have people offering, phishing as a service and draining it. Well, draining is just phishing, but it's software that already, does it for you, right? So the way these things work principally is that they can display a different UI to the user than the one that's actually being signed. So say you have like a hardware wallet plugged in through MetaMask and you're connected to some DeFi. If the attacker, has got the malware on your machine, which, was downloaded through a phishing link, they can present to you, that you're doing, in fact, this transaction that you want to do, but actually what you sign is a different transaction. And the only way you can tell is if you compare, look at the actual address you're sending to, on that ledger. Or if you're interacting with DeFi, it gets really hard because then the ledger just displays a bunch of gibberish. Like it's just a bunch of hexadecimal. And at that point, to understand if it's correct, you literally have to be me and you have to reverse engineer this hex and make sure you're signing the right thing. Like, so this is this is completely beyond the capability of normal people, right? Like they just expect stuff to work, right? And so there's other sneaky ways that the hackers get you. Like they'll look at transactions on chain, they'll send dust to a lookalike address, so like say, Alice sends to Bob, certain real crypto, and you're a user Bob, right? And now what the attacker will do is send some more money to you, to your address on Etherscan, but the from address will look very similar to Alice's, but it's actually different. The beginning end will be the same, but the middle is different. And they specifically go and mine these addresses, and you can just sit there and just, because of HD address derivation, you can just derive an endless amount of keys until you get one that's a lookalike, right? So they're usually using a hardware miner to do this. And then they just pray that, like, when you need to send some money back to Alice, which, in a typical user scenario, maybe that's your mom or a family member, you're going to copy that wrong address and send them the money. And even totally experienced people fall for this. I mean, there's like, stories for people falling for this to the tune of $3 million, right? Like they just, and okay, so why is it this way? It's because regular people have to understand addresses. And that's one of the main things we do in American Fortress is there's no more addresses. I mean, the machine understands addresses, but you don't have to. You just have a name. And so like you can register a name like, bob.litecoin, bob.lite, and we'll talk about, what's going on with us in Litecoin here in a second. But you can register bob.lite, and now you can put that address up on your, say, Instagram and just say, use any American Fortress compatible wallet, which will shortly also be MetaMask, and you can send me any currency, and this is my name, right? And now the counterparty wallets will automatically generate stealth receive addresses for that user. What's a stealth address? It's just an address that only you and the counterparty know. It's not like stealthy or a mixer or like, somehow secret. Like you can see it on chain still, but only like if it's Alice sending to Bob, only Alice and Bob know that that's their address, right? And now if somebody else sends to the name Bob, it'll be a different address. So like Charlie sending to Bob, it'll be different. Bob will have a different address. And so as a user, what that means is it's like PayPal for all the crypto, except fully decentralized, and you just don't have to worry about addresses. All you got to know is like, okay, can I spell this name? And we are integrating it with hardware wallets. We have our own hardware wallet that we're really going to be releasing as well that works with this system, so that you can see like on a screen, like, hey, I'm irrevocably sending money to this username. So as long as that is spelled correctly, that user is who's getting the money. And then we have a decentralized chat where you can literally talk to that user. It uses the same key infrastructure. So for sure if they can read your messages, they're the same. It's the same set of keys that are decrypting the messages as receiving the money. And then we have KYC proofs on top of that, and like proof of funds, all this extra stuff that happens that makes our solution even better from a KYC point of view than TradFi, but the most private and easiest to use crypto infrastructure ever.
Wow, it's very cool, Mihal. And yeah, I've seen personally, I've sent an Ether transaction, and then I get a second email that's like, it happened again or something. And then sometimes the systems can say, they show you, hey, this is a fake phishing address, but you can't just trust some third party to tell you what's right and what's not.
Like those things, there's a bunch of things you can add to your wallet that's like, oh, we know that this is a phishing address, or we suspect this is a phishing address. But ultimately, why do you have to wonder at all? Like, this is so broken. Like, even when like your bro's like, send me crypto, here's my Telegram. Like, how do you know it's not some hacker owning the Telegram? That's why hackers try to break into your Telegram. It's not because they want to like, read all your messages necessarily, but I mean, they might try to blackmail you. That's another attack vector that's nothing to do with crypto, but typically they're just like, they start texting all your friends, hey man, I need 5 BTC or I need 5 ETH or whatever. Here's the address. Yeah. And so, the basic problem we're solving is we have from a technical point of view, it's complex. From an end user point of view, it's stupid simple. It's just like, if the name, then for sure you have the right addresses for that name. That's all. You don't have to understand anything else. So that's the the main push of our tech.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. And I have used Ethereum name service, naming your address before, but this seems like it's different. It's the next evolution. You were talking about stealth addresses and privacy, and from what I
Yeah.
understand with the ENS names, you can name an address, but it's public and it's used
Correct.
for everybody, and there might be some flaws in that.
Well, there's 100% flaws in that. First of all, the second you use it, everybody can just, it doesn't even have to be used, right? Like for
Mm-hmm.
ENS Unstoppable, you have smart contracts that store your static addresses. So the way these things work is you buy the name and then you connect to the smart contract and tell it, okay, these are my, Ethereum addresses. For Unstoppable, you can have addresses for all sorts of different chains, not just, Ethereum is, it's obviously just Ethereum only,
Mm-hmm.
but, there's a static addresses. So the first problem is if you use it, everybody sends that same address. So you don't know who the money came from.
Mm-hmm.
So like you don't have like a log like we do where like you'll see like, oh, the money came from Bob, the money came from so and so, right? So that is a super critical feature because typically a year later you're like, I don't know where this money came from. You got to keep this super like so this is like, okay, how are you supposed to comply with the regs
Mm-hmm.
if your wallet's a bunch of addresses? Swear to God that came from Joe. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you can't prove it to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in our system you can. In fact, you can prove A to B to C even. You can prove proof of funds. So like if you receive funds from A, you can prove to C that they came from A, which just doesn't exist, in the world yet. So that is how the KYC works, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's good to know. And you were mentioning about Litecoin. What are the options on, there's so many different variations of which wallet you have or which exchange and which coin on which blockchain. Where can people start right now?
The second question you just asked, let's just retake that. Ask it again because I'll just give you a better answer. So
Okay,
you're editing these, right? You're not going live, right?
we will now. So the part about the blockchains.
Was that's the question you just asked me? The one before this.
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, it was a two-part question. Are you asking about the first
The first part. Yeah, yeah.
first part of it about which wallets?
No, no, no. The entire question before this, the question, not the question you just asked me, but the
Oh,
question that I answered. I don't think I got all of it.
okay. I can't remember now
Damn.
because
Okay.
I don't really go off my talking points. I just like ask questions that I'm personally interested in. We
Cool.
so let's just jump to the different like chains, and if you want to talk about the Litecoin thing again, we can do that, and
Okay.
the other chains.
So
I'll
the
ask it.
the
I'll ask it again.
okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Requeue.
Okay. And so with the send to name, there's so many different blockchains and coins and wallet infrastructures that you could have your assets on. Are the possibilities for getting a stealth name, in the beginning here and keeping your coins safe?
Right. Okay. Now I remember your other question, which is ENS Unstoppable. So let me answer ENS Unstoppable fully first, and I'll just jump right into that. Okay.
Okay.
So the difference between our system and ENS and Unstoppable is that those systems you have the static name mapping, meaning that the second that you connect, that you get a name, you're going to be asked to put in static addresses. So the first problem is all the money goes to the same address, meaning you can't tell the source, right? And we additionally have a bunch of extra KYC proofs that let you, tell the source, and you can even prove the source of funds to another counterparty. So if A received money from B, B can prove to C that they got it from A. And the privacy that we do, the stealth addressing plus the off-chain cryptographic proofs that are running in the background, allow that to happen. The second thing is the second you register a name and you put up those addresses, I can just now look up your entire history. I don't even have to interact with you. I can just look up your entire history. I can look at the smart contract and say, oh, your ENS name is, so-and-so. Now I can look at your entire Ethereum history that you did with that ENS name. Or if you use that address before for anything, I can still go backwards in time and look that up. So the big problem with these systems is that the second that somebody starts to use ENS or Unstoppable, or friend.tech or Fireblocks Network. Like Fireblocks Network is the same thing. It's static mapping. So like all these big, custodians that are moving money around, they can look up each other's daily transactions. That's not what you want, right? Like when you go to a regular bank, you don't want everybody to know how much money you have, right?
For sure.
So that's one of the main problems that we solve. Our addresses are dynamically computed, meaning there is a list of metadata and usernames, just like anything else in Unstoppable, but all you can compute from that metadata is your particular receive address for that counterparty. So if I'm an attacker, all I can do is send you money. I can't see how much money other people sent you. And I have no insight into that, right? So how does this work across, cross chain? So this, we write drivers for different chains. So right now we support Ethereum, ERC20, Bitcoin, BCH, eCash, Dash, Litecoin, and we're adding more all the time. And this is right now, it's all in beta. So if you're watching this, you can go to AmericanFortress.io and download the American Fortress Dash Litecoin wallet, which you can just get a free name in beta. The names are all free and you can play around with it. You'll have some, we drop some testnet mined LTC in there so you can see how it works. And our tech will compute the receive address for any chain that we support, which is theoretically all of them, right? So we just have to add more drivers. So which wallets does this work with? Obviously ours, right? So say you have a seed, like an old seed from say Litecoin, and you put that seed into our wallet. And now you'll see all your old transactions, plus now and you tie that Litecoin seed to a name. Now you'll be able to receive these transactions by send to name. So you can put that send to name on your Instagram and just say, hey, I'm using American Fortress Litecoin. You can send me all the Litecoin you want, right? But this is also going to be true for any wallet that uses our SDK. So the next one like that is MetaMask. So we are right now about halfway through developing a MetaMask Snap, where this will also work in MetaMask. So for the system to work, you have to have two things. One is obviously the wallet supports the chain that you're interested in, and then it supports the send to name. And the send to name, what it allows the wallet to do is divine the addresses of counterparties on other chains and tokens and vice versa, and receive funds. And this is really cool when you combine it with, say, cross-chain functionality. So we'll be adding like cross-chain functionality like Wire Network to our tech, because now it's like if you want to, you have assets on a certain chain, but you want to send those assets via this DeFi protocol that goes cross-chain to a user on another chain. Well, how do you know his address? Well, in our case, you do. And this also applies to custody. Makes custody way easier because the custody system can automatically return funds straight to a user. This is what we're deploying in Brinks. So say you can deposit Bitcoin, trade it in custody, and now you're like, hey, custody system, give me my money back. But I traded it for Ethereum, and the system's like, oh, I know your Ethereum address, and I just send it to you. So this is like entire buckets of attack vectors are just completely deleted with our technology.
Wow.
That was a better answer.
That's very cool. There's so many things to think about, especially because, as you were saying, you want to incorporate more privacy, but you also want to have to deal with the regs and ensuring compliance, especially if you're going to get this into the hands of American users. And with American Fortress as the name, you definitely want to do that. Where does that balance lie in ensuring that you can sort of put as much privacy as possible, but ensuring the compliance of everything at the same time?
Well, the area is gray because it's never really been defined, right? All we know is that like certain people get prosecuted and certain people go to jail and other people do not. So, Roman Storm got convicted on one thing because he essentially deliberately made a mixer that he was profiting off of, right? So I think, the only metric we have is that, mixing in some cases is bad, but then there's like other protocols like Monero that mix. You could say MWEB is a type of mixer, that's the Litecoin L2 where you peg in and peg out into Litecoin, and then there's a mixing phase. We will be supporting MWEB. We, however, do not mix. Our tech is not a mixer at all. But we do really cool things. Like even if the funds are mixed in our tech, we can add side proofs that prove where the funds came from, how much they were. So, right. So essentially we can make a mixer compliant, because imagine the compliance is like the authorities aren't like, we want to see what everybody's doing. Right. Like, because then the attackers can see what, like no one's cool with that. Really. Like not even the most, pro regulatory regime I can think of. I mean, it wants to see what everybody's, well, okay, maybe. Let's not say, there are a few. North Korea, China come to mind where, they're trying to outlaw stuff, period. But generally in any sane regime, where, people want secure financial transactions. They don't want everybody to know the balance, and neither the government doesn't want you to have that vulnerability. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we created. Like in our wallet, everything, the funds you receive are fully chain analyzable. In fact, we'll probably add a chain analyzer feature to American Fortress so you can chain analyze the funds you received, but you'll also know like who they came from. Right. So that's way more useful than just chain analysis, but you'll be able to see like, oh, this person actually tried to send me dirty funds, which now, if you're a custodian, it makes it way easier to comply with, right? Because you have all these extra metrics that didn't exist before. Like right now, if somebody sends you funds, you're like chain analysis, but really, where do they come from? I don't know, right? So what we've done is kind of, in my mind, put in this sort of perfect medium level of privacy. And the one thing I want chains to sort of adopt is I'm a big fan of balance blinding, which is not mixing. It's just hiding the total balance in the source of funds address. Because like even in our system, like say you have 1,000 ETH and you've consolidated to like one address, and now you send $5 of ETH and it came from that one address. Even in our system, the recipient will see the source of funds because again, there's no mixing, right? We're just doing automatic address computation. So that recipient will see, hey, you got 1,000 ETH, not necessarily a great feature, right? So what I'm encouraging things to do, I'll be releasing a white paper on this, is encouraging chains to do balance blinding. There are some chains that already do that, which isn't mixing. It's just, making it so that the recipient doesn't know what the rest of your stack is. Like in our case, what is like, we will use like say you got 1,000 accounts or 100 accounts or 50 accounts, and the user doesn't aware of this, like that they have a bunch of accounts. Like our wallet just tracks all this automatically, but we'll pick like the account that has the closest amount to what you're trying to send. But like in the rare case where you've consolidated everything, or somebody sent you like one huge transaction and that's all you've ever received, we have to send from somewhere, right? So what balance blinding does is fix that, and that's like we don't mess with the chains, right? So essentially we're a wallet infra, which means that it's like we're not mixing, we're not doing anything extra. It's like we don't actually touch the chain at all. The chain is just the same. We just have this wallet infrastructure that lets you compute receive addresses and does really cool off-chain crypto proofs that let you know more, not less. And that's been the balance that's been working really well for us.
Yeah, that it sounds like it's going to be working really well. I'm looking forward to seeing it when that part comes out. And when you mentioned there about having different addresses and sort of having the system automatically choose and sort of like smart choices, or I'm curious if AI plays a role in that, or AI agents, and if that can actually help the end user, especially if they're non-technical, navigate all of this stuff.
So we don't actually use any AI inside our code, except we do use AI to write the code. Like we use a lot of automated development, as I think a lot of organizations do. The AI sort of assisted writing of software has, multiplied productivity pretty radically. However, our software is for the robots. It's not implemented by the robots, but it's for the robots. Because how is the robot, like an AI agent, supposed to know who's the right counterparty, like who's feeding it addresses, right? Like I once talking to like the founder of one very famous AI project and asked them, so how are you guys dealing with, who controls the address pool? Like who controls the list of counterparties? He's like, well, we have another AI do that. So I'm like, okay, well, when the AI decides to go rogue and steal a bunch of money, it's just going to say, sure, this is Bob's address, and actually it's theirs, right?
Yeah.
In our case, the send to name system, and we wrote a model context protocol server, and we will release that code along with the beta. So like AI robots can just, talk to our wallet and do transactions, right? And I think we're solving, the same problem for robots, because like a robot, what's it going to do? Like if it doesn't know the address, is it going to get on Telegram, be like, bro, what's your address, and how does it really know? Right? It's the same thing as what you just said. It's like, how do I ever know? And the answer is you don't. Like that's what was solved in American Fortress.
It's really cool, Mihal. And again, remind me on the roadmap of there's so many pieces to this and so many wallets to integrate with. You mentioned the Litecoin thing is just come out, and I saw on the site there's a wait list. So if people want to get involved in this and try everything out as it continues to develop and be fully released, what is the best way to get started right now?
Yeah, so you're going to want to get on the wait list or the newsletter, essentially AmericanFortress.io. You're going to want to download the American Fortress Litecoin wallet and just play with it. You're going to want to reserve your name. I'll be giving you, Ashton, a special link that your guys can use to reserve the name.
Cool.
because we do have a really cool affiliate system here set up as well. So, and the way the name reservations work right now, I just want to be super clear. In beta, like when you open up the wallet, it's going to say, just type in a name, and basically any name you want, you can type in. As long as somebody else didn't take it, it'll just use it. And that's your beta name for, tied to that particular test private key. In the beta, obviously don't use real keys, for real money, like not a great idea. It would, I mean, it's just, don't cross the streams. And, but then you'll be able to, the reason we do that is we'll always have that free in beta so people can just play with it. Like they can see how it works. But then if you like it, then you can go to the registration system, AmericanFortress.io, and just, buy all the names that you want. We have special namespace for like Litecoin funds called .lite. The other thing I can say is that, so right now, American Fortress beta light for Litecoin, it's literally just called American Fortress Litecoin. It'll let you test, the functionality on testnet 4 before production. We're also going to roll out MWEB support. We're going to add L2s like LitVM. We're going to add support for ordinals and runes. So this is meant to be like a wallet for the Litecoin community to really focus on and be able to do all the extra stuff they want to do on that chain with all the benefits of send to name. You could probably going to expect to see in the near future some cross-chain functionality as well, where you can, bridge between other chains again, because it's really easy for us to add that with the send to name functionality. So super excited about that. And, just go to AmericanFortress.io. You can also join our Telegram, and, there's also quests we'll have, and all sorts of stuff that's out right now, and all sorts of different ways to participate. And then if you like the idea, then you can support obviously American Fortress token, which is TGing shortly. Can't tell you which date yet, but it's September. So
Yeah, I wanted to ask one more thing about that. The dates are always tentative, but in terms of the functionality, you mentioned that the system is decentralized. So does that mean that to buy the domains, it requires the token, or to uphold it? How exactly is the functionality?
Okay, so that's a great question, right? Because if this was a like, traditional DeFi project, I'd be like, you have to buy a bunch of American Fortress tokens for anything to work, and you got to manipulate MetaMask and do all this stuff. And I was like, this is not the experience that I want users to have, because this is like, I want it to be the opposite. So literally, we have just credit card processing. You just buy a name. And then we do all the staking and all the infra and all the complicated patent pending and patented. Well, I can't say patented yet, but allowed. We have a patent that's allowed. We have another one that's imminently allowed. We have 7 pending. There's a million lines of code we wrote to support this whole thing. So yes, there's a lot of pieces, but as a user, it's just buy the name, put in your credit card, select however long you want its lifetime, 1 year or 3 years. And then if that's your name, it is transferable. So, if you want to move it to somebody else later, you can. That does not mean that the funds move. It just means that the name just gets assigned to, some new user, and then they connect their keys to that, right? So it's not like, if you don't renew your name, your funds disappear. It's just like, if you don't renew your name, somebody else buys that name, and in new transactions will go to that new user as opposed to you. But it's not like, there's no custody here at all. Like, we're not holding funds. It's literally, it's just like a non-broken version of ENS or Unstoppable.
Yeah, no, that's really good, because I always tell beginning users, even with the hexadecimal address that is hard to understand, so when you send that, it's like looking into your bank account. And now if you put your name attached to it, then you just search your name, and now they can definitely see even easier into your account and the entire history. So these stealth functionalities are completely necessary. And I hope it becomes a standard process throughout all of Web3 and blockchain as this gets built out. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the major releases, and I'm going to be following along. And I will put the American Fortress links that you mentioned in the show notes below, and the beta, and then the full release. I would love to have you back on in the future as more things get released and more people start adopting it and realizing that this is what we need to protect people and make it easier, and the way that blockchain transactions should be, so that we can stop making it so complex and stop having to explain that, all of these details that are stopping millions of people from being onboarded into blockchain.
Awesome, Ashton. I appreciate you. There's be a lot more coming. We got hardware wallets. We got wallets for other ecosystems. We got the EVM wallet. We got a MetaMask Snap. We've got custody deploying to Brinks. We've got a whole, it's international, domestic, right? So we're starting with American Fortress, but the road goes pretty deep after that. And I appreciate being on your show and love to hop on again and talk about it anytime.